Ben Sandstrom, three-time Olympian, 1988 Seoul, 1992 Barcelona, 1996 Atlanta. Welcome to the Pistol Australia Olympian Series.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Let's dive straight in. Way back, you were born in Sweden.
Yeah.
Were you a competitor prior to coming to Australia?
Yes and no, in the sense that I was a junior. I started to shoot about 13 years old with my father in Sweden. Became very competitive as a junior, trying to beat my father, of course. It was also part of all other sports at that age, soccer and ice hockey and many other things. So it wasn't the one and only thing.
Is it a predominantly summer sport in Sweden due to weather?
No, definitely not, because air pistol, of course,
is indoors.
Indoors, and that is probably one of the strongest and most important events. And right through the winter season in Europe and Scandinavia, there's a lot of competition, international competitions, particularly just for air pistol or air rifle. So, yeah.
At your three games, you shot 10-metre air pistol and 50-metre free pistol.
Yeah.
So air pistol was your specialty?
Both were actually my specialty. I found myself pretty much equally at that level, at the top level for both events. Yeah.
And at what age then did you come to Australia, and how did you get into the Australian system?
Yeah, we moved to Australia in 1972, the whole family, and first 10 years, you're young, new things. Took a while before you sort of started to realise what you wanted to do, and then I met a fellow who was involved in the sport 10 years later. So 1982 is when I took it up again.
And what age were you then?
26.
Okay, so a reasonable break from a junior before you become an adult competitor.
Yeah. But it's a bit like riding a bike. You never really lose some of the fundamentals. Yeah, no, that was quite easy to get started again back in 82, and it didn't take long for me to do some open competitions to have experience of that. And once you started that process, you get bitten, you get hungry, and you always want more, sort of thing.
As you got back into it, did your father get back into it?
No, he never took it up here in Australia.
And what club were you involved with over in WA?
I started off with a small club, Canning Pistol Club, probably no longer there, and that's where I met this friend of mine who got me involved in the sport here in Australia. Basically, went to the first nationals in '83, so after 1 year, went to the first nationals in Adelaide or South Australia after 1 year. And that's where I got inspired. I could see that, hey, I've got a potential to be as good as these guys, and got driven and sort of made a decision I'm going to specialise in air pistol and 50-metre pistol from that point. And
how was it going to competition? You're a 24-year-old, you're turning up, you're obviously, Swedish. People going, where's this guy come from?
Yeah, there was never really any questions about, I was quite easily accepted as an Aussie, because I've already been here about 10 years by then, so there was no problems there. And created a lot of friends, and very humbled the way I was treated as an immigrant as well.
And so 83, it's quite a good rise then to 88 to make it to the Olympic Games. You must have jumped up through the ranks reasonably quickly and became very competitive?
Yeah, very quickly. Then in 84, I went to the Nationals in Hobart, and that's where I had a good success. I think from memory came third in air pistol. But one of the more important parts of my life then was I met Ragnar Skanker, who's a 7-time Olympian from Sweden. He was on his way to the LA 84 Olympics, so he was part of the Nationals, part of his training regime. And he's been a very good friend of mine and my wife since. Talk frequently. I spoke to him only just a few days ago, and he's 89 now, and he's done 7 Olympics. So he was the sort of inspiration, my mentor, and to some degree my coach. So at those 84 nationals, I was a little bit cocky. Me being Swedish, him being Swedish, I said to him in Swedish, I said, I'm going to beat you at the next Olympics. and he used to put the arms around me and said, "Well, you got to get there first." So that was the drive. Okay, I got to get there. What do I need to do? And he sort of mentored me through a fair bit.
It's quite often a lot of athletes can come back to a seminal moment in their career where the light just turns on and they're like, right, this is me, this is what I need to do.
That was the moment that sort of really started off, and then of course I got invited to the national Pistol Australia national squad, and I must say I can only thank this two aspects. One is Tiber Gomsol, who's no longer here with us, but he was very supportive in recognising people's talent, if you want to call it that, and I was invited to these squad shirts, and he and the program he put out was making sure we got exposure for international competitions frequently, because that's really when you get the experience. So you can train all day long, but unless you're on the line with the best in the world, you're not getting that experience. So as well as he was the coach that provided me with the basis of how to set up a training program, and I very religiously for all those years stuck to my training program that we worked out, and so I thank him for that, and also of course Pistol Australia for supporting me in going to all these international competitions to build that experience.
So Tibor Gonzal gave you that ground, that framework and that carried you through your entire career.
Yep, and even though I don't do a lot of shooting today, but that's part of what I'm coaching nowadays. Same regime, same program, with a little bit of tweak, obviously, to fit in with modern technology.
A few international competitions in the lead up, then obviously 88 coming, Oceania qualification, or did you go through a World Cup or World Championship qualification for the Olympic Games?
Going back some time now, for the 88 Olympics, I think from memory we had just competition as national squad selection shoots, and we side by side were fighting it out basically.
Who were your strongest competitors? Who were the ones in Australia that you were fighting hardest and pushing each other to be the best?
Well, Phil Adams, of course, is one that were my threat, and I was probably threatening him. Alex Taransky was on and off a bit of a threat, and there's a few others. So and that was the good part. We was quite a bunch of us that were fighting for positions both in 50 meter and 10 meter, and through that you get automatically get pushed up because you need to compete. And also Mark Giustiniano, a good friend of mine in Western Australia, we were friendly rivalry. Going to all sorts of competition, competing against each other, both locally as well as internationally, and that's what you need. You need that little bit of. It's very hard to do totally on your own.
It's good. I guess it was a fairly strong period or golden period, maybe for shooting in Australia, where you had a good cohort of competitors all pushing each other.
Yep, definitely. And through that period of time, most of my time or peak time period. I've clocked up some just under 150 international matches. I don't say anything, but that's good experience, and most of them pretty good success.
Well, that ability to stand on the line against anybody in the world and feel like you belong there, you're comfortable. I've got the training behind me. I've got the skills. I can put down a good score. I can beat anybody on the day.
Yeah, I've got something here for you. What really started it off.
Wonderful.
And that was the first World Cup, 1987, that I wasn't ready for it, but I had a good day and shot a 580 in air pistol, got into the World Cup final, and I was the first Australian to get into a World Cup final and won the Olympic quota for Australia, etc. And that's when I really realised, hey, I'm up amongst the best here. I can do this. So there's no reason why I can't, push forward and achieve the same at the Olympics.
Do you double down your focus? Do you train harder? Do you look at ways of perfecting and finding those 1% improvements?
You always do. Unfortunately, sometimes you go a little bit too far where you do more quantity than quality. And that's just the discovery part of the journey. You find yourself, and that's when you're doing things by yourself, you find that you can end up just doing more quantity than quality. But yes, through this training program that I've built up over the years, you break down the matches into facets, and as part of your training is to train a certain aspect of the technique and the process in firing a good shot, rather than just throwing lead down the range, as they say.
Paddy Dench, who was the '84 bronze medalist for Australia, she spoke a lot about training well, quality over quantity, and if she was training poorly, she didn't want to train poorly, she would stop.
Yep. And it's the same here. And when I'm coaching today, I do programs for people and that sort of thing. And one of the important part is if you're going to train, you've got to make sure you train well and stick to it. You've got to be very careful you're not training and practicing bad habits.
And the news that you were selected in the team to go firstly in '88 in Seoul, that must have been a huge moment in your career.
Yeah, I guess I got a little bit surprised in the sense that that wasn't my goal to make the Olympics. My goal has always been to be one of the best in the world. And as I've said to many others in the past, there's no point aiming to just make the green and gold. You've got to set your goals higher than that, and the rest will sort of take care of itself. And if you perform, if you put up the scores, selection kind of take care of itself.
You select yourself in a sense.
So, no hoping or wishing. Often today you ask people, what's your goals and plans? And I'm hoping to make the team, or hoping to get the green and gold, or it's got to come from here. It's got to be a burning desire to want to be the best and win those medals.
You go off to the Seoul Olympics. Is the Olympics at another level?
It's a different, definitely a different level, but I felt quite comfortable because as I showed before, because I've already achieved that higher performance amongst the best in the world. And a World Cup is usually more competitors than at an Olympic. So there was probably a little bit more pressure in the Olympics from the point of view that you only got 2 from each country versus maybe 4 or 5 from each country in a World Cup that you're fighting against. That put a little bit more pressure, because if I shoot what I could shoot, and the scores that I have been shooting at World Cups, the chance was there to, of course, get in the finals and get in medal tally.
Do you remember your first time you stepped on the line at the Olympic Games? I mean, you've obviously absorbed everything around you. There's a lot of hype. The village, you can get very caught up in seeing all these famous other athletes in the village, the opening ceremony. There's a lot of different energies coming your way.
Yeah, I mean, you've because I've had the prior experience on the international arena leading up to it, I felt quite comfortable. There wasn't sort of moments of overwhelming, but it was exciting, obviously, and interesting, the whole thing, how it operated. But I was there to do a job, and I've always treated my shooting that way. When I've gone away, I'm there to do a job, nothing else. So I was pretty self-focused.
Quite easy then, it sounds like, for you to put the blinkers on and shut everything else out and just focus on my job.
Yeah, and that worked for me. Not for some people, they need to blend in and do other things to get rid of their stress level and anxiety.
Which came first, the air pistol or the 50-metre free pistol?
The 50-metre was the first event, and it's always back then it was always the first event after the opening ceremony. So I did go to the opening ceremony in '88, which in hindsight maybe I shouldn't have, because they do become quite late nights, but you can't say no to an opportunity like that, be part of that experience. 100,000 in the arena and all the yoo-ha that goes on. It's you got to be part of it.
the roar when you walk out into the stadium for each national team. They're amazing moments in your career.
That's right, and that's why you got to do it. But after that, I must admit that I learned from it. And 92, 96, I didn't go to the opening ceremony.
Again, 50-metre free pistols. No longer on the Olympic program.
No, and that's the sad part, that one of the oldest Olympic events since 1896, the modern Olympics. It's a sad affair because that was one of my forte matches. I've had some great success, and besides the Olympics, I mean, Phil and I got the pairs record still since 1990. Commonwealth Games was still sitting on that. It's one that, that's close to my heart, sort of.
Yeah, I guess then 25-metre rapid fire comes in at some point down the track, but your concentration is obviously 50-metre high precision, 10-metre another high precision event.
Yeah, definitely a precision shooter. Often through my career, when I have shot precision in 25 metre, do very well in the precision part, but not everyone knew that I'm going to blow it in the rapid fire stage or the time fire event. So
they're almost polar opposites, aren't they? When you look at precision and then speed, they're very different skills.
Yeah, and back then, I'm not sure how true it is, but you sort of tend to relate the matches, the time fire events, more to extrovert people, and the precision event to introvert people, quiet by themselves. And that's probably me. I'm not sure how true that is if you start doing the analysis.
So you go through Seoul 88, an amazing experience, won Olympics. What's your thought there? I've done it once, I want to do it again?
Once you've done one, you get bitten. You just want to keep on going. And as I said, it just again, thanks to Pistol Australia, of course, who allowed us to continue doing those international travels, the World Cups around the world, to build that experience. So that and they are also part of then selection in some cases for the Olympics. And if you can compete at that level, you feel comfortable then going to the Olympics. So you know that you have an opportunity to be one of the best and get that medal. That unfortunately eluded me, but
you had those successes at Commonwealth Games. You got 3 Commonwealth Games, 4 gold, 2 silver, 2 bronze.
Yeah.
So those periods in between Olympic Games where you're going to Commonwealth Games, you can get that winning feeling, you get that taste, and that spurs you on to try and go that next level at World Cups and World Championships and Olympic Games.
Yeah, you're right, because there was that continuation, in particular for a 10-year period where you constantly there was Commonwealth Games, World Championships, World Cups, Oceania Championships, Olympics, and it was just a cycle non-stop. So you really couldn't afford to slow down. You had to be on the ball all the time, and that was hard work. But that's also what gave us the edge, to be non-stop on the international arena.
Keep pushing all the way. Barcelona 92, lovely visit to Spain.
Yeah, that was another experience, yeah. Very, very interesting venue to shoot on. But we did have like most Olympics, you have pre-competition, a World Cup usually before the Olympics. You get to know the venue and get to know the setup. Although I didn't perform as well as the first Olympics, again, I just stuck to myself and did what I felt I needed to do to succeed.
You must also develop, I guess, associations and friendships with other international competitors.
Yeah, and that's also part of it. Apart from Ragnar Skanker, who I trained with in Sweden, and also travelled and competed against at the Olympics, but also World Cups for many years. So through his knowledge and his friends and coaches that he knew, I got introduced, and you pick up little snippets of information here and there without even asking. That sort of helps you put you on the right track.
How many Olympics did you compete against him in?
3.
Oh, all 3?
All 3, yeah.
Wonderful. Did you beat him?
No, he was always stronger, and as I said when I spoke to him the other day on the phone, he's 89, he's still shooting. Just local level competitions, obviously, but I mean, it's just a phenomenal man.
He must be extremely proud of you, as your parents would have been extremely proud of you. A bold statement, I'm going to beat you at the Olympics. and he would have welcomed that, I'm sure, of I'm going to help you.
And I've said it several times to him as well. I've thanked him for his support and mentoring, because and typically one example was in that '87 World Cup. He was the first one who came up and brought me back down to earth, because he knew that, from his experience, he knew that if I didn't, bring myself down after that success and get that bronze medal, going to Zurich the following week, I probably would have gone there a little bit too level-headed and excited.
You've got to celebrate a little bit though, don't you?
We did celebrate. We did have a bit of a snaps after the competition, but he literally helped me bring me down, and consequently I went to Zurich and shot personal best in international shooting 50 metre as well. So, and I think that has a lot to do with how he helped me bring the arousal level down and the excitement down, because we were still there to compete. It wasn't finished yet, sort of thing.
That's also part of your journey of learning to cope and adapt with different things. I mean, obviously great highs, and then at times you have moments where you've got to struggle and you've got to fight your way through.
Yeah, I mean, you part of the journey, if you want to call it that. It's you have your ups and downs, obviously, and you've got to be able to also train well enough so that you can analyse yourself without seeking coach's assistance all the time, to work out when things aren't going well. How do I fix it? I need to go back to basic process.
You would have had moments like when you shot your personal best and when you got your bronze medal, where you must have felt in the zone.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, as you said, you're in the zone and you feel like you couldn't do anything wrong, which means your process is good, everything is good, and if you can, tap into that process every time, of course it'll be great. But it's hard work to keep that focus.
You can't get there without the work.
No, you can't get there without the work. And part of my period of success, I went through 3 different phases, I guess, where I didn't work at all. That didn't work out too well, because it became probably more quantity than quality. And then I did half and half, like part-time work and shooting, and then full-time work. And when I did full-time work, I was probably more productive, because the time I had left for shooting and training was quality. Right.
So Atlanta, 96, again, different culture, different country, different experience again?
Yep. It was, and of course getting older as well. I didn't have any problem going to the Olympics as far as feeling uncomfortable, or I was comfortable with the surroundings, with the people, with the shooters. I've known them now for many years from the different countries, so that experience was okay. But I think I probably put too much pressure on myself. 2 previous Olympics hadn't been that successful. They weren't necessarily bad, but it was nowhere near what I could shoot. So I probably put a little bit too much pressure on myself. I've got to make this one count, and the adrenaline just a little bit too high.
But no regrets, I'm sure.
No, none whatsoever. I mean, I and again, it wasn't a failure, but I would have liked to finish on a bit more of a high.
Was 96 in your mind the end of Olympics for you, or did you think you could go again?
I was still trialling out for Sydney, and I was certainly up there in the running for it. Just didn't get in. But that would have been a nice ending of the Olympic career, if you want to call it that, on home ground in Sydney.
Absolutely. Were you involved in any other way in Sydney as a spectator?
I guess for a period of time, and that's, to be honest, I felt pretty down after losing out, because it was close, and missing out on Sydney was a bit of a letdown.
It's one of the great challenges, I guess, where selection doesn't go your way, but mentally and physically you're prepared to go again. So the choice is taken away from you. Very few athletes get to retire with the fairy tale finish when they want to finish.
Yeah, and that, I mean, as I said, I had to admit to myself and be humble. I've achieved 3 Olympics, and I'm happy with that. Plus all the other international competitions and successes over the years. Because if you look at the whole picture, not many get to do what I've done.
I think it's about 0.01% of the world's population get to go to the Olympics, and to go, as you said, not just to wear the green and gold, but to go and try and be successful and push yourself past just selection, and you want to be on the front of the line.
Yeah, and which I did. I certainly gave it everything I could. Trained hard and travelled and competed and did all the aspects you need to do to be a successful athlete and be at the top. Unfortunately, as I said, the Olympics themselves eluded me of medals, but there's been other successes in between that makes up for that. So.
Huge success, as you said, you and Philip Adam having a record, a bronze medal at a World Cup. So you've had some great successes along with your Commonwealth medals as well.
Yeah, Commonwealth Games certainly has been a big part of my highlights over the years. Well, there's only so far you can go, except, as I said, Ragnar is still shooting at 89, but try to do a trip to Sweden next year, and spoke to Ragnar and see if we can just jump into a local competition and shoot a bit of air pistol at least. So it'll be a nice thing to do both for myself but also with Ragnar, because as I said, he's 89, and yeah, with due respect, you don't know how long he's going to be around. So to have a good final shoot with him would be nice.
In a way, that's paying homage and respect to your mentor.
And that's what I want to do. Yeah, and that's what I want to do.
1988 Seoul, 1992 Barcelona, 1996 Atlanta, plus 3 Commonwealth Games and a host of medals. Once an Olympian, always an Olympian.
As they say, yes.
Ben Sandstrom, thanks for being part of our Olympic series.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. In '87 for that World Cup Olympics, as I said, it was the first time in Australia making the World Cup final, and of course you got to do your drug test, and the intent is that the officials come and pat you on the back and say, okay, you've got to do a drug test because they're a bronze medal, and they didn't do that. And I wasn't aware. I was so excited and so nervous. I went up, shook hand with the loser instead of the winner. Went back to the hotel and celebrated a little bit with Ragnar Skannaker, and went down in the foyer. This was back then in East Germany. Back in the foyer, and there was these guys dressed like KGB outfits. And said, Mr. Sandstrom, I said, yes, no drug test. I said, oh God, my God, there goes the medals, there goes the quota, and there goes the score and everything else. But they admitted it was their fault. And I've already had a beer by then. So yeah, so they said, that's okay. So I had to go down to the range again and do the drug test and pee in the bottle, but I've already been to the bathroom, so I couldn't. They said, we're going to help you. So they gave me a bottle of 12% beer, warm beer. So you drink this and then you can pee.